violence in the neighborhood.
And local lawmakers are giving inmates convicted by non-unanimous juries a second chance at a fair trial. We have the details on this new bill.
Live, you're watching Fox 44 News first at 9.
Good evening, I'm Kellyanne Biley.
And I'm Tavares Haywood. Thank you for joining us for Fox 44 News first at 9. One Baton Rouge church says violent crimes in the city must come to an end.
They are now taking a stand in the community, and their main focus is actually figuring out why more children are getting involved with violent crime here. Our Anam Siddiqui has the story tonight. Anam?
Yeah, Kellyanne and Tavares, I spoke with the leaders at United Christian Faith Ministry. They say it's more than just talking to people, but a lack of resources is the root of the problem. MJ Addison, an 18-year-old high school student shot and killed at an apartment Saturday night, is the latest young life lost to senseless gun violence in the capital city.
Where there's no jobs, where there's no resources, you will see crime.
Sociology professor and church member Dr. Christy Perry says the uptick in youth violence is sparking a conversation within the church. Perry says there's a lack of attention in certain communities.
That when we look at crime, we cannot ignore economics. We cannot ignore poverty. We cannot ignore how the lack of social resources play into these particular activities.
According to BRPD, MJ was shot multiple times after a fight broke out. United Christian Faith Ministry pastor Mark Ellis says enough is enough.
Some are wrestling with depression and frustration.
Pastor Ellis is launching Reimagine, a youth mentorship program for children considered at high risk. He says children are feeling the greatest impact of the pandemic and are the ones most neglected.
The disruption in their lives and of course, trying to process it all can be very difficult. A lot of times their cognitive and emotional intelligence hadn't been fully developed.
The two say determination needs to be restored within our children.
I've often said seed produces after its own kind. Seed also produces based upon its environment.
The United Christian Faith Ministry is launching the Reimagine program right before the school year ends. We have their contact information posted to beareproud.com. Anam Siddiqui, Fox 44 News.
All right, thank you so much, Anam. Meanwhile, developing news tonight, a Gonzales area teacher charged with accessory to rape faces new charges in Ascension Parish.
Yeah, this comes as new evidence surfaced in the case. Heather French faces 2 counts each of pornography involving juveniles and video voyeurism.
The Ascension Parish Sheriff's Office says the new evidence is not tied to the original case, that one involving students at Galvez Middle School. Now, the Ascension Parish Sheriff's Office did not give exact details about what this new evidence is.
Be sure to stay tuned to stay up to date on our website, beareproud.com, as more details are available. And over in Hammond, the police are searching for a 16-year-old girl who's been missing since Saturday. Police believe she is headed to Alabama with her boyfriend. Police in Hammond say Gracie Sosa is considered a runaway teen. She was last seen with 25-year-old Yeson Perez. They were in a silver Honda Civic. If you've seen either of them, call 1-800-554-5245.
And a Louisiana man faces the death penalty after what one sheriff calls a cold-blooded murder. David Ruster Jr. is accused of killing a bar owner in Bogalusa and then robbing that establishment. Ruster was arrested over the weekend in Mississippi after leading police on a high-speed chase. It all started allegedly after he robbed a bank. Officials say he admitted to killing the bar owner. Ruster now faces several charges, including first-degree murder, armed robbery, and sexual assault. Well, now in your local election headquarters tonight, 1,500 people are in Louisiana prisons after unconstitutional non-unanimous jury convictions.
Yes, state lawmakers are now working to give inmates another chance at a new trial. Political reporter Shannon Hecht explains.
Up until a 2020 Supreme Court decision, Louisiana was one of 2 states that allowed juries to make a conviction with only 10 of the 12 jurors in agreement. The practice was outlawed in Ramos v. Louisiana, but the new rule does not apply retroactively.
You'd assume that there's automatically a remedy. Well, that remedy in this case has taken a lot of work to try to get to, and we're still not there.
Currently, there are about 1,500 people in Louisiana prisons who were put there by non-unanimous juries. 80% of those are black. Norris Henderson was convicted with a 10-2 jury and now is fighting to help people while the decision over if the law is retroactive is stuck in court.
The DA's Association want to wait on the state Supreme Court to see what the state Supreme Court does. Okay, if the state Supreme Court decides that is retroactive, then what?
Henderson believes that the case could wind up back in the federal court before the state makes a decision on their own. Bills by Representative Jason Hughes and Randall Gaines look to undo these convictions and give people a chance at a new trial, plea deals, or potentially become eligible for parole.
The Jim Crow roots of this practice and the disparate impact on our communities and the costs that we're spending to unconstitutionally convict people, and the high number of people who are innocent of the crimes that they were convicted of. We have to act this year.
For your local election headquarters, I'm Shannon Hecht.
And new tonight, the IRS wants to beef up its workforce to help with its backlog of tax returns. The tax agency says it would like to add 10,000 new workers, according to a report. The IRS still has 10 million personal tax returns and 4 million business returns to finish processing, in addition to starting a new tax season. The IRS has shifted 1,200 employees to deal with the backlog so far. And meanwhile, the clock is ticking on Capitol Hill as a government shutdown looms once again.
This time, lawmakers are actually looking at including aid money for Ukraine in the funding bill. Our Hannah Brandt has more from Washington.
Congress needs to pass a funding package by Friday to avoid a government shutdown. And President Biden wants it to include $10 billion in aid for Ukraine.
And that $10 billion, which I believe Congress will provide very quickly, will go to additional security assistance for Ukraine. It will go to humanitarian assistance.
House Leader Nancy Pelosi and Senate Leader Chuck Schumer are both on board with that plan.
The omnibus is the quickest and most efficient way to get this done.
Not only are lawmakers racing against the clock, there's also some disagreement about whether the aid should be tied to the omnibus bill at all. On Twitter, Senator Rick Scott wrote that Senator Schumer is holding the aid hostage to boost support for his budget bill. He wants Ukrainian aid dealt with separately and passed immediately. But Senator Mark Warner says he thinks putting the aid in the funding package makes sense.
We need to stand with the people of Ukraine. We need to give them this aid. And at the same time, we need to do our job and keep the federal government in the United States working as well.
And Senator Chuck Grassley says he's in favor of linking them too.
I think it might help it get passed.
With the attack on Ukraine intensifying and the shutdown deadline looming, there's growing pressure to get it done soon.
The overwhelming majority of us in both parties want to fund the government for the balance of the year. We want to support Ukraine.
In Washington, I'm Hannah Brandt.
Well, just ahead, thousands are fleeing their homeland as the war rages on in Ukraine.
We'll bring you the very latest on the war and its impact on Baton Rouge's economy after the break.
Plus, just ahead, LSU's president calls the university the state's Pentagon. We'll hear why he's asking the government for millions of dollars in research and defense programming. That story up front at 9:30.